So for this next part, I'm going to go over some of the curve tools and show you how I use them to create the cabin for this vehicle. I just use a regular curve tool just to start laying out some of the lines for the roof. I just changed the opacity of the wireframe there just so I can get a better view of the curve as I'm drawing it out in side view. I'll just capture the one that I've already got there, or based off of the image I've got there. You can do this in Illustrator or any other software and just import the curves, but I'll just do it here in Modo. Then I just copy and paste the one curve I made there for the top of the window and move it to for the center line of the vehicle, as well as the lower portion of the A-pillar there. It's easy to just manipulate these curves. You're just picking vertices and moving them around. And then I'm going to snap that one to the mirror plane and just move the other ones for the window opening out a little bit. Just like the surfacing, I use the fall off tool to manipulate those curves. You want to keep them constraint to your y-axis there, just because you already established the curve in your side view, so you want to keep that. So once you have those pulled out, it's good to look at them from different angles and just start to push and pull some of those points so they look good in multiple angles. You can spend a lot of time manipulating these, but they don't need to be too precise, because when you make the polygons from them, you lose a little bit of that accuracy. Now in top view, I'm just going to bring out the plan view of that windshield and start to manipulate those points to kind of get a good edge for the bottom of that glass. So then here I'm going to start lining up the bottom of the A-pillar and kind of adjusting these points a little bit more, just so in top view I can draw another curve to the rear to make the back of the rear glass, and then start lining things up from that view as well. Again, these don't have to be too precise, because you're gonna when the polygons are created, they'll change a little bit. Now I want to create a section for the bottom of the A-pillar here, so I'll just click out 3 more points for the front and rear and manipulate them so they're pretty well lined up in multiple views. Now I'm just going to grab them and kind of align them a little bit closer to the actual body geometry that I made. I think later on I'm not going to connect those, so if you want to connect the body to the roof, you'd want to pay attention to the amount of polygons you're going to make, which I'll go over here in a second. Now I'm just going through and welding all those vertices around the edge. For the patch to be made, you need to have all of the vertices welded there. Now I'm just going to define one more line through the roof section there. I just felt I might need a little bit more control over that area, somewhere around the top of the windshield. Now I'm going to use the patch tool and click out 4 points to create that surface patch there. There's a lot of really good videos how to do this. So you just want to make sure you pay attention to the number of parallel lines and perpendicular lines or polygons that it makes. So you want them all to line up. So when you weld all these vertices here, or I just do the mesh cleanup to attach all the ones that are close together, and then the few that weren't quite next to each other, I'm just going through and welding these vertices here. This way you have one full surface there, so everything's connected. Now I'm just going to go and manipulate these loops here a little bit, just to get a little tighter line across the top of the cant rail there, just to define the edge a little bit more. Now I'm just going to take those curves and put them on their own layer, just to keep the file organized a bit. Now, it's not perfect. It didn't make the best surface there, especially down towards the windshield. There is a little bit of a dip, but I think this would be cleaner than anything you could do by pulling out and manipulating by hand. So now I'm just going through and seeing what the car looks like, symmetried, and just kind of tumbling it around. Here I'm using the Alias Showroom shader. I like this one to see kind of the glass, and it has a bit of contrast to the rest of the body there, which is nice. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of a break to the rear shelf there and manipulate the trunk geometry just a little bit to get a little smoother transition across that area there. Now I'm going to manipulate this rear just a little bit. I don't want the brake to carry all the way through there, so I'm just going to use the fall off tool and the slide tool to kind of spread those edges out there to get a little cleaner curve through the back of that rail down to the C-pillar there. Now I'm just going to start connecting that character line from the hood through to the body side here a little bit, just so it travels around the vehicle and doesn't just end in a five-sided. I usually try and keep things four-sided. That's a good practice, but sometimes it's unavoidable, especially with cars here where you're kind of experimenting with your topology and trying to figure out the design. I think it's okay to have 3- and 5-sided polygons every once in a while. There's ways you can hide them, and as long as they don't disrupt the surface too much for the final image, you can keep them there. Now I'm just going in and kind of manipulating this shoulder here. I wanted a little more curvature to this area. That's one of the things I had in my head that I didn't build into the surface before. So I'm just going through and tweaking the line a little bit to kind of puff that surface out a little bit, make it a little sweeter looking. So you can see I deleted that loop, and now I'm going to add it back in here just to continue that around. So you'll do that a lot, where you'll add a loop and then delete it. I do that just to help keep things easier, or with less edges, so I can manipulate them a lot easier. And then here I'm just going to slide it down a little to get a little better spacing between everything. And then again, just switching between my matte cap shaders, getting a different look on things there. So it's good to look at things from different views. That's when I realized that the A-pillar here doesn't quite touch down where I wanted it to originally, so I'm just going to grab that whole area and use the fall off tool here to kind of pull that area out a little bit, so the base of the A-pillar is a little closer to that cowl line there at the base of the window. I guess at the base of the window and the top of the hood there. And then it's just kind of push and pull, make sure things are straight. Now I'm going to move this, I guess, window line in a little bit. It was a little too big. You'll see here I have some curves there. I was going to make a glass plane to kind of build to, but that didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. So now I'm just going to use the topology pen tool and pull these edges off down to that curve to create the base of the window. Typically, you might be given a glass plane from engineers or something, so that'd be easier to kind of find that stuff out and use that. But here I'm just making it up, so it's not the best side glass. They're typically a kind of a big cylinder that's got some curvature to it in top view, just to kind of give that barrel shape to the glass. This one's just kind of going to be a placeholder for now, just while you're building the design and kind of figuring out where you want things. Now I'm just going to cut and paste that so I can move it back. There will be a little bit of a draft around the pillar and the bottom of the glass, just to have some offset for moldings or something in there. I don't really have an image made yet for that area, so I think I'll just kind of wing it. Here you can see I'm just drafting off some surfaces there, just to create that flat spot where glass molding might rest on. And then I'm just going to go around and make sure the offset from the glass to that line is pretty consistent, So I'll just manipulate some of these points here, or these curves here, with the fall off tool, and just kind of go in and push and pull. You can see I'm making that little flat spot there, and then I'm just going to redo the back of this window here a little bit. I didn't really like how that four-sided polygon was kind of giving a little bump, so I'm just going to pull that little area out and then manipulate it so it's consistent thickness with the rest of that shelf there. Same in the front here. Do the same thing. Spend a lot of time just kind of making sure things are consistent. It's good practice. Now I'll just go from side view and kind of flatten all that out. I wanted that to be one nice planar curve in side view. Now I'm just going to go add that same flat at the front, or at the base of the A pillar, and build a cowl and kind of manipulate that to blend into the one on the side of the glass there. So here I'm just going to dip that down using the fall off tool, just so those points are a little closer together. That way I can connect them and the whole line runs the entire way through. So you'll see here when I add this edge weight, that line goes all the way around the vehicle. So I think we're nearing the end of this one. I just wanted to show how I do the cabin. You know, sometimes I'll do that in Alias and build nicer surfaces, but for this I wanted to use the curve tools in Modo. Those are pretty new to me. I haven't used them a lot, but I'll be using them a lot more now. They turned out pretty well. You can see here I'm just adding some graphic breakup. I just added a material tag to the different selections. Yeah, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something. Stay tuned for the next part. I'll go over the front end build, I think. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.